The rain had let up hours ago, but the bridge still glistened like slick black ice beneath the moonlight. Deputy Nathan Cole adjusted his cap, shivering against the cold mist rising from the river. At his side, K9 Thor, an enormous German shepherd with a scar down his muzzle, stiffened. Normally fearless, Thor's hackles rose, his claws scraping against the asphalt as he planted himself firmly at the bridge's edge. No coaxing, no command could budge him forward. Then Nathan heard it too, the faintest splash, like something shifting on the black water. That night, everything began to unravel. If you enjoy stories like this, a quiet like or subscribe helps keep them coming. Thank you. The first call came just after midnight. Nathan Cole's radio crackled. The dispatcher's voice strained. Unit 7. We had a noise complaint near Iron Hollow Bridge. Caller reports, screaming. Possibly an animal. Possibly not. Nathan glanced at Thor, who sat upright in the passenger seat of the patrol truck. Amber eyes locked forward as if he already knew. Copy that, Nathan muttered, flipping on the siren. Unit 7 en route. The road to Iron Hollow. Iron Hollow was the kind of place folks didn't talk much about. A stretch of Tulane blacktop, winding into dense woods, ending at a decaying bridge where the old highway crossed a river. Teenagers used it for dares, drifters for shelter. The sheriff's office knew it best, as trouble waiting to happen. Nathan drove with one hand on the wheel, the other brushing the worn leather strap of Thor's harness. You hear that? He asked softly, though the cab was silent except for the rattle of gravel beneath the tires. Thor's ears twitched, his body rigid. At the bridge, the truck's headlights swept across the bridge. Steel beams eaten by rust, planks sagging like tired lungs. Mist curled from the river below, thick enough to blur the opposite bank. Nathan killed the engine. Darkness settled heavy, broken only by the hum of crickets and the groan of water beneath. He stepped out, boots sinking into the damp earth. Thor leapt down beside him. The first thing Nathan noticed was a smell. Something sharp, metallic, and rotten riding on the fog. Not roadkill. Something worse. Thor growled low, muscles tense. All right, buddy, Nathan whispered. Let's check it out. But when he tugged the leash toward the bridge, Thor stopped cold. His claws scraped, resisting. His growl deepened. Nathan frowned. What the hell's gotten into you? Thor, the dog who had chased armed suspects through dark woods, who had pulled survivors from wreckage, was trembling, refusing. The splash. Then it came again. A splash. Small, deliberate, like hands stirring water, not the random ripple of current. Nathan's flashlight beam swept across the black surface. For a moment, he thought he saw something pale beneath the ripples, like fabric drifting. But then it vanished. Sheriff's office, he called out, his voice echoing into the fog. If someone's out there, answer me. Nothing. Just water gurgling against the pilings. Thor barked suddenly, sharp and guttural, but still refused to move forward. His eyes locked on the river's edge. Nathan tightened his grip on the leash. His chest prickled with unease. A stranger appears. A voice carried through the mist. You shouldn't be here. Nathan spun, flashlight catching a figure leaning against the guardrail. A man in his 40s, gaunt, with a lined face and eyes that glimmered too calmly in the beam. His clothes were damp, muddy, as though he crawled from the river itself. Nathan drew himself taller. Sir, you need to step away from the bridge. What's your name? The man smiled faintly. Doesn't matter. Nobody remembers me anymore. He pointed a thin finger at the water. It's what's underneath that matters. Thor snarled, teeth bared. Nathan's pulse kicked harder. What do you mean underneath? Did someone fall in? The man tilted his head, studying Nathan like one studies a moth pinned to glass. Not fell. Taken. Escalation. Nathan's instinct screamed. He unclipped the holster on his sidearm, keeping the flashlight steady. Sir, I need you to back away. Slowly. But the man didn't move. Instead, he took a deliberate step toward the railing. His boots scraped metal. Thor barked furiously. Nathan yanked the leash to steady him. Stop right there. Nathan ordered. The man's smile faltered, replaced by something brittle. You think you can stop it? You're already too late. You'll see. And then, without warning, He vaulted over the rail and plunged into the dark river below, into the water. Shit! Nathan bolted forward, flashlight beam thrashing against the mist. Ripples exploded where the man had gone under, but seconds passed, no resurfacing. Dispatch Unit 7. Nathan barked into his radio. Man just jumped off Iron Hollow Bridge. Request immediate backup and rescue unit. Copy, Unit 7. Rescue en route. Thor lunged at the railing, barking savagely. His teeth snapped at the fog as though trying to tear it apart. Nathan stared into the water, heart pounding. For an instant he saw it again, something pale drifting beneath. But this time it wasn't fabric. It was a face. A woman's face, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream before the current twisted it away. Nathan staggered back, breath catching. What the hell? The wait. The minutes that followed stretched like hours. Backup arrived, 2 deputies in a rescue boat, but they found nothing. No trace of the man. No trace of the woman Nathan swore he saw. The sheriff himself, Malcolm Price, showed up, coat flapping in the damp wind. He was a broad man with tired eyes and a voice that brooked no argument. You saw him jump? Price asked, standing beside Nathan at the railing, clear as day. Nathan's voice was hoarse. And I saw something else down there. A woman. Price's jaw tightened. You sure? I know what I saw. The sheriff studied him a long moment, then shifted his gaze to Thor, still rigid, hackles raised. Dog doesn't lie. If Thor won't cross this bridge, something's damn wrong here. The first omen. The search dragged until dawn. They found nothing but debris, branches, trash, a rusted hubcap. The current was strong, the river deep. Nathan stood exhausted at the edge of the bridge, staring at the churning water. His reflection wavered back at him, distorted, unrecognizable. Sheriff Price clapped a heavy hand on his shoulder. Go home, Cole. Get some rest. I'll assign divers tomorrow. But Nathan couldn't shake the image of the woman's face. The way her hair fanned like weeds. The eyes, pleading. As he turned to leave, Thor whined low, almost mournful. Nathan followed his gaze downriver. And there, tangled in the reeds, the current pushed something against the shore. Fabric, a dress, pale blue, torn at the hem. Morning after. The sun rose pale and thin over Briar Creek, bleeding weak light into the mist that clung stubbornly to the riverbanks. Nathan Cole hadn't slept. He sat at his kitchen table with a mug of black coffee cooling untouched, Thor lying at his feet, restless. The German shepherd's ears flicked every time a car passed on the distant highway, but otherwise he was unusually quiet. Nathan turned the fabric over in his hands again. The pale blue dressed the current had spat onto the reeds before dawn. It was torn at the seams, stained darker around the waist as if from rust. Or blood. The sheriff had bagged it, logged it as possible evidence. But Nathan couldn't shake the weight of it. Whoever that woman in the water was, the dress had belonged to her, and she wanted to be found. He was sure of it. The sheriff's office. Sheriff Malcolm Price leaned against his cluttered desk, cigarette smoke curling toward the low ceiling. He was a man who had seen too many years, too many bad nights, and had little patience left for ghost stories. You're telling me you saw a face in that water, Price said, not looking up from the report he was scratching out. I didn't imagine it, Nathan insisted, standing rigid across from him. She was there, Sheriff. A woman. Long dark hair, pale skin. The dress matches. Price sighed, tapping ash into an overfilled tray. You were running on 2 hours of sleep, chasing shadows in the fog. I'll get divers out there today. But don't go around telling folks we got some banshee floating in the hollow. Nathan bristled. With respect, sir, this isn't just superstition. A man jumped last night. I need to know who he was. That made Price pause. He finally looked up, his eyes hard. And did he leave a name? An ID? Any witnesses besides you and your dog? Nathan opened his mouth, then closed it. The stranger's words echoed in his skull. It's what's underneath that matters. No, Nathan admitted. Price jabbed his cigarette toward him. Then don't stir panic. Folks around here are quick to scare, slower to forget. Let's wait for the divers. Dismissed. Unwelcome visit. Nathan returned to his truck, Thor hopping up into the passenger's seat with a grunt. The rain-washed air smelled sharp, metallic. As he started the engine, movement in the rear-view mirror caught his eye. Someone was standing across the street, watching. A young woman, maybe late 20s, early 30s, her coat buttoned tight against the chill, auburn hair pulled back. She didn't look away when Nathan's gaze met hers. She lifted her hand slowly, pointing toward the river. Then she turned and walked down the street. Nathan hesitated. His chest tightened. Thor growled, deep in his throat. "Yeah," Nathan muttered, shifting into gear. "We're following her." The woman called Anna. He caught up to her on the edge of town, where the pavement gave way to dirt road. She stopped, waiting for him as though she'd known he'd follow. "Deputy Cole," she said calmly as he stepped from the truck. "I heard you were out at the bridge last night." Her voice carried a quiet weight, like someone who'd rehearsed grief until it became muscle memory. "And you are—" Nathan asked cautiously. "Anna Mercer." Her eyes flicked to Thor, softening slightly. "My sister went missing 3 years ago. People said she ran off. She didn't. She drowned in that river." Nathan's pulse jumped. "Your sister's name?" "Lydia Mercer." Anna's jaw clenched. "She wore a pale blue dress the night she disappeared. Same as the one you found." Thor whined, stepping forward, nose twitching. Nathan's throat tightened. "Why didn't you tell the sheriff?" Anna let out a bitter laugh. "I did. Malcolm Price wrote it off as a runaway case. Said I was seeing ghosts." The photograph. Anna pulled a worn photo from her coat pocket. Lydia Mercer stared out from it. Early 20s. Striking eyes, dark hair cascading over her shoulders. She wore the dress Nathan had pulled from the reeds. Nathan swallowed hard. "I saw her," he whispered before he could stop himself. "In the water." Anna didn't flinch. "Then you know I'm not crazy." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Whatever's under that bridge, Deputy, it took her, and it's not done." Secrets in town. By midday, word had already spread despite the sheriff's orders. Folks at the diner whispered about flashing lights near Iron Hollow Bridge, about divers combing the water. Some claimed they saw shapes moving beneath the current, shadows too large to be fish. Nathan sat in a booth, coffee cooling again. Thor lay under the table, ears pricked, eyes never leaving the door. Across the room, Sheriff Price entered, nodding curtly to townsfolk before spotting Nathan. He slid into the booth opposite him, shoulders sagging. "You're stirring up stories," Price said flatly. "I'm following evidence," Nathan countered. "The dress belonged to Lydia Mercer. Why didn't you tell me she'd gone missing?" Price's eyes narrowed. "Because I didn't think it mattered. That girl was trouble, mixed up with the wrong people, bad debt, worse company. She didn't drown, Cole. She ran. That dress is just coincidence." Nathan leaned in. "Then why does her sister say you ignored her?" For a moment, something flickered in Price's expression. Guilt, maybe, or something darker. He crushed it quickly. "You let this dog lead you by the nose. You'll end up barking at shadows, too," Price muttered, rising. "Stay away from the Mercers." "That's an order." The diver's discovery. The call came just before dusk. Nathan raced back to the bridge where search teams were hauling their gear from a river. The lead diver, still dripping, looked pale under the floodlights. "What did you find?" Nathan demanded. The diver hesitated, eyes darting to the sheriff who stood nearby. Price gave a sharp shake of his head, but the diver spoke anyway. "Bones," he said quietly. "Human bones, bound with wire, buried under the silt." Gasps rippled through the deputies. Nathan's stomach dropped. "How many?" he asked. The diver's voice cracked. "Too many." Confrontation. That night, Nathan sat in his truck staring at the river, heart hammering. Thor whined impatiently beside him, tail thumping the seat. "It wasn't just Lydia," Nathan said softly, as if confessing to the dog. "There are more. God knows how many." A knock on the window startled him. Anna stood there, face pale in the moonlight. Nathan rolled the window down. "They told me," she said, "about the bones." Her hands shook as she gripped the doorframe. "I knew it." I knew they were hiding something. Nathan frowned. Who's they? Anna's eyes shifted toward town, toward the sheriff's office. Malcolm Price has been covering this up for years. My sister wasn't the first, and she won't be the last. But you already know that, don't you? A warning. Before Nathan could answer, headlights swept across the riverbank. A black sedan rolled to a stop. Sheriff Price stepped out, his silhouette broad against the beams. He walked toward them slowly, deliberately. Anna, he said in a low voice, you need to go home. Now. She stood her ground. You knew, didn't you? You knew Lydia was down there. Price's jaw worked. Careful. Nathan stepped between them. Sheriff, if you've been keeping this from us. Price cut him off, voice like a growl. You want to keep your badge, Cole? Drop this. Some things are better left at the bottom of the river. Thor barked, teeth bared, the sound echoing into the fog. The break. Later, alone in his house. Nathan poured whiskey into a chip glass and stared at the wall. Thor paced restlessly, claws clicking against the floorboards. Nathan replayed the sheriff's words. Better left at the bottom. The town had secrets. Old ones. And Price was tangled in them. Nathan set the glass down hard. We're not letting this go, he told Thor, voice trembling with determination. Not this time. The dog sat, ears pricked, as if he understood. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, and from the direction of the river, faint but unmistakable, came the sound of a woman's scream. The scream. Nathan bolted upright, the whiskey glass shattering on the floor. Thor was already at the door, barking ferociously. The scream had faded, but its echo clung to the night air like smoke. It hadn't come from town. It came from the direction of Iron Hollow Bridge. Nathan grabbed his jacket, holstered his sidearm, and snapped the leash onto Thor's harness. Come on, boy. Within minutes, they were tearing down the dirt road, headlights cutting swaths through the trees. The river shimmered in the distance, silver and restless under the moon. At the bridge again. The bridge loomed, darker than the sky around it. Mist rolled off the water in sheets. Thor froze at the entrance, hackles raised. He growled but didn't move. Nathan crouched beside him, fingers brushing his fur. I know, buddy. I don't like it either. But we've got no choice. Leaving Thor tied to a post at the roadside, Nathan stepped onto the slick planks. The boards groaned under his weight. Halfway across, he stopped cold. Someone stood in the middle of the bridge. Anna, her coat whipped in the wind, hair loose around her shoulders. Her face was pale but set with grim determination. You shouldn't have come, she said, voice trembling. Anna's confession. Nathan approached cautiously. You called me here? No, Anna whispered. They did. She turned her head slightly, eyes darting toward the black water below. The ones he left there. Nathan's chest tightened. Your sister? Anna shook her head slowly, tears brimming. Not just Lydia. There were others, girls no one bothered to miss. He kept them here, weighed them down. I thought the river had taken her, but it wasn't the river. Nathan's stomach turned. Who are you talking about? Anna's lips parted. She looked at him with an expression that was half sorrow, half accusation. Sheriff Price. Betrayal unveiled. The sound of an engine cut through the night. A truck's headlights flared on the far bank. Sheriff Malcolm Price stepped out, shotgun in hand. Nathan's heart sank. Step away from her, Cole. Price barked, voice carrying over the water. Anna grabbed Nathan's arm. Don't listen. He's the one who killed her. He's the reason all of them are down there. Price's face twisted in fury. Shut your mouth, girl. Nathan's mind raced. Every dismissal, every half-truth, every warning to let it go. Price hadn't been protecting the town from fear. He'd been protecting himself. Standoff. Nathan drew his weapon, hands trembling. Tell me the truth, Sheriff. Right now. Price laughed bitterly. Truth? You think you can handle it? I cleaned up this town when no one else would. You think these girls were saints? They were poison. Drifters, addicts, thieves. Every last one of them a stain. I just put them where they belonged. Anna's scream tore through the night. You monster. Price raised a shotgun. Cole, drop your weapon before you end up in the water with them. Thor snarled from the roadside, lunging against his leash, eyes burning. Nathan's finger hovered on the trigger. His world tilted. The fall. The bridge shuddered under the weight of the moment. Price's shotgun leveled. Anna clutched Nathan's sleeve. And then, everything happened at once. A board beneath Anna's feet cracked with a gunshot snap. She screamed as the plank gave way, plunging her through the gap. No! Nathan lunged, catching her wrist just as her body swung into the darkness. Her feet thrashed above the rushing black water. Price cursed, striding forward. Let her go. Over my dead body. Nathan roared. His grip on Anna's wrist slipped against the wet wood. Below, the river churned violently, as if something unseen stirred within it. The water stirs. Anna dangled, sobbing. Don't let me fall. Nathan strained, muscles burning. Then he froze. Faces surfaced in the current. Pale, bloated faces. Dozens of them. Hair floating like weeds. Eyes wide and unblinking. They stared up at him, mouths opening in silent screams. The weight of their presence pressed on Nathan's chest like a vice. He nearly let go. Thor barked savagely, breaking the spell. Nathan roared, heaving Anna upward until she scrambled onto the bridge beside him. But the water kept churning. And then someone rose from beneath. Lydia. She emerged slowly, impossibly, from the water's grip. Lydia Mercer. Her skin was pale as bone, her hair slick against her face. She wore the shredded blue dress, her body glowing faintly in the moonlight, her eyes fixed on Anna, sorrowful, pleading. Anna fell to her knees, sobbing, Lydia. But Lydia's gaze shifted to Price. Her lips moved soundlessly, forming words Nathan couldn't hear, but Price understood. His face blanched, his body stiff. God help me, Price whispered, stumbling backward. The faces in the water surged upward, clawing silently toward the bridge. The air turned icy, the mist thickening. The reckoning. Price fired his shotgun wildly into the river, the blast echoing. Stay back, damn you. But the faces did not retreat. Nathan raised his weapon, aiming square at the sheriff. His voice was steady now. It's over. Price whirled, eyes wild. You don't understand. I did what had to be done. This town would have rotted if I hadn't. Anna shouted through tears. You murdered them. For a moment, Price's resolve cracked. He lowered the shotgun just slightly, just enough. Thor broke free from the roadside post, charging onto bridge. With a snarl, he leapt, teeth sinking into Price's arm. The sheriff screamed, stumbling. His shotgun clattered into the river. The bridge gave way beneath him. Price plunged into the water, vanishing into the mass of pale faces waiting below. His scream was the last sound before the river swallowed him whole. Silence after. The water calmed instantly, the faces dissolving into the current. Only Lydia remained, standing waist-deep, her pale hand lifted toward Anna. Anna sobbed, reaching out. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Lydia's lips curved faintly into something like forgiveness. Then, as the mist thickened, she sank back beneath the surface, the current carrying her away. The bridge groaned but held. Nathan stood frozen, chest heaving, gun trembling in his hand. Anna collapsed against him, weeping. Thor pressed close, muzzle nudging Nathan's leg. Aftermath. By dawn, the state police swarmed Iron Hollow Bridge. Price's body was never recovered. The divers claimed the current carried him miles downstream. But Nathan knew better. The river had claimed him, just as it had claimed all the others. The bones were retrieved, bagged, tagged. Families were notified. Grief returned to the town in waves. Nathan gave his statement carefully, leaving out the faces, the glow, the impossible. Only Anna heard the full truth, and she never spoke of it again. Resolution. Weeks later, Nathan stood at the bridge's edge once more. Repairs had begun, but he doubted anyone would ever cross it with ease again. Anna stood beside him, coat drawn tight. I keep thinking I'll see her again, she whispered. But maybe it's better she's at peace. Nathan nodded. He looked at Thor, who sat tall and calm now, no longer afraid of the bridge. The dog's scarred muzzle twitched as though sensing something distant, but he didn't resist. Nathan laid a hand on his partner's fur. "You knew all along, didn't you, boy?" Thor gave a quiet whine, leaning into his hand. Together, they turned away from the river, leaving its secrets behind. But sometimes on still nights, Nathan swore he heard it again, the faint splash of something stirring beneath the water, and the whisper of voices carried by the mist.